Welcome to another edition of the Entertainment Corner. I'm Paul Ortiz, and thanks for joining us today. Well, our good friends at the Laguna Playhouse just down the road from us have a current production of The Graduate, which you might have seen. And joining us now is Nick Tagg. You actually play Benjamin in this production.
I do.
What an exciting role for you.
Yeah, it's an incredible role to take on. Yeah. Sort of terrifying at the same time, but fun.
When you say terrifying, is it because so many people know that movie and know that character? Their expectations are probably, based on what they saw in the movie, and yet you kind of want to do something a little different with that role.
You hit it completely on the head. Yeah, people bring in with them a bag of expectations, and when you're not that, well, they realize that pretty quick, and it takes them a while, I think, to kind of overcome that initial, like, oh, he's not Dustin Hoffman. Exactly. Wait a minute,
he's a little better looking and taller.
A little different, yeah. So it's that is the main difficulty, but it is fun when you kind of get to win them over, hopefully.
So did you watch the film over and over to kind of get a feel for the role, or did you kind of want to just know vaguely about it and kind of read from the script?
No, I mean, I'd seen it a couple times, growing up.
Of course,
and I watched it, I think, right before auditions just to get back with the story, but when I got cast in it, I didn't watch it again. I kind of want to watch it now, now that I'm sort of more set in my ways and see what it was.
It'd be interesting to see if you watched it during your performance and if it affected you on stage, whether you realized it or not.
Yeah, I would hope not.
Yeah.
A funny thing happened, actually. Like, I realized partway through I was sort of speaking a little bit differently than I do. A little nasally and stuff, and I was like, am I, without meaning to, drawing from his performance? Yeah. But I think really it's kind of in the writing. Like, the writing of the late 50s, early 60s was just different, and sort of, I think, helps. It's sort of just a way you speak, especially with this sort of heightened dialogue.
Exactly, and that's something different too, because obviously 1967, that they just had their 50th anniversary celebration. That whole generation was so different than what the millennials are kind of like nowadays. So,
and that's even later. I mean, the book came out in '64, I think.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah.
It kind of spans the whole generation.
Well, let's talk about the star that's on stage with you, Melanie Griffith. Everybody knows her from obviously film and television.
So much.
That must have been pretty exciting to know that you would be working with someone like that.
Yeah, it was. It was very exciting. I didn't really know what to expect. She has such a career and such a life. There's always so much attached to that when you meet somebody, and she is not at all what you expect.
Right.
Incredibly grounded.
And that's in a nice way, right?
Oh yeah. Like, I mean, she's very grounded.
Yeah.
Very fun, very what you see is what you get, and she's super fun to be with.
Plus, I would imagine you get a lot of the backstory, because she's actually worked with Mike Nichols, who directed the original.
She's worked with him, she's worked with everyone in the business.
When you look at that film, who even tried out for the role of Mrs. Robinson was an incredible list of who's who, and now she's doing that on stage. So does she kind of say, oh, well, Mike kind of had this idea at this time, or does she kind of keep that off to the side?
No, she's totally an open book. When we have downtime, I was like, all right, so how was it meeting, Jack Nicholson or like anybody? And she's like very happy to fill me in, which is that's more than half the fun, is just hearing all the stories of all these amazing people.
Right. Tell us a little bit about the production here on stage at the Laguna Playhouse. It's a little bit different than the movie, so the writing is a little bit different, and then the plot twists are just a little bit different.
Yeah, there's some little variations. There's a couple of little small takeoffs, and then it comes back to normal. But it's a different tone. I think the movie took a very sardonic, kind of glib tone, which is what people love about it. It's not a famous opinion, but a very popular one. But I'm actually not a big fan of that kind of tone.
Right.
This is much more of a romp, and then kind of spiraling out into a farce, which I actually find a lot more enjoyable. And I think, from what I hear from the audience at the end, they're on board, and it kind of takes them over, I think.
Yeah, I think in the film, one of the best lines I enjoyed was when he first got back from college and they're having the party at the house, and all his mom and dad's friends are like, saying, oh, well, what are you going to do with yourself next, right? And he just looks at it and goes, well, I think I'll go upstairs for a little while. Because he really doesn't know what he's going to do, right? That's your character.
Yeah, it's sort of a bizarre place to start. It's not often that you start with a character who has no objective. As an actor, it's one of the main things, what's your objective? And this one, it's like, he needs to find one.
Yeah.
Not knowing what it is sort of an odd place to begin as an actor, of like, I don't know what I want, and that's right for the character for right now. I have to try and figure out what that is during the scope of the play.
Yeah. Is Mr. Gladstone different than Benjamin, or do you find them very similar as far as characters?
Mr.
Personalities.
Gladstone.
Well, he was the character. I just threw you for a loop.
Yeah, I was like, wait.
So Mr. Gladstone was who he would check into the hotel with.
Oh yes.
So
well,
And there you go. That's the movie part that's probably not on the stage,
well,
right?
Actually, I'm not sure if that's because there's a hotel clerk, and then I give him a false name for myself of Mr. Gladstone.
Okay, yeah, right. So, I wondered, like, he starts to take on this persona where he's smoking cigarettes and kind of hanging out by the pool and this laissez-faire kind of attitude.
Yeah,
and his personality kind of changes, and I kind of wondered, well, is he one personality when he's with Mrs. Robinson? And then obviously his personality and his feelings for Elaine change as that develops.
Yeah, he's got quite a few changes, which is awesome to play. He has a great kind of devolution into a kind of spiraling out and just giving up on life, and yeah, he's smoking and he's drinking and just not really caring about anything. Yeah, and then finds meaning in this situation with Elaine and finds like, this is the point of my life. This is what's worth living. Right. Is heaven's in the details. To appreciate life.
Yeah. Tell us about the rest of the cast. Someone like Elaine, how's that going? I understand that even the stagehands are involved on the stage as well, huh?
Elaine, I mean, Martha Magruder, she's just a pleasure to work with. I actually knew her beforehand. We did an acting class together, and we hit it off and worked together and just got on pretty famously. And then I heard she got this, and I was thrilled because I knew we could work together and that we had a really playful way of working, and you could improv with her and throw it right back at, and it was really fun.
So it's nice to have that comfort level too, because on stage you need that trust as well to develop a really good
You
scene.
do. Thankfully, everyone in the cast you get on with. On day 2, you're like already best of friends. Yeah. But it's great knowing going into it that you can have somebody who you can really trust and work well with.
Right. You're about halfway through the run now, so
yeah, a little more than half.
The show's going pretty well. You have a couple. How difficult is that matinee and that evening performance? Is that tough on you guys, or you're dialed in on that?
It's tough later in the week. I feel like it's kind of nice. You just kind of settle in and you sit with it and you just kind of dig in. Being there all day is sort of nice. I mean, if you're in the theater, it's because you love being in the theater. Right. So being there all day is never, to me, like a very tough deal. But it is growing. I think that from opening to now, there's a lot more depth and kind of widening, fleshing out that happens when you just get more comfortable. You have time to sort of just find new subtleties.
And the director, Michael Matthews, is kind of taking it on his own too. And his interpretation of this production, that's obviously felt on stage as well. Yeah,
he had a lot of vision. He really wanted to go with the comedic aspects, and he wanted to bring the world alive. I think he has a lot of success with musicals, and took from that in putting a lot of choreographed movement and song around the play, which I'll be honest, a little skeptical of. I was like, that's interesting, that's a bizarre take. And then you see it, and it really kind of brings the whole world around you alive, I think.
And I think that's what the audience expects too, because the film was so music driven as well. I mean, if you watch the film, he spends the majority of his time in the car
driving music around,
And there's always scenes of water in some way. There's either the aquarium, the swimming pool, the rain, or just complete sweat, just because he's so nervous, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting how the film is, they can control those kind of things, but on stage you all have, a certain map that you're going to follow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, it sounds like you're having a great time with this, and
couldn't be having more fun. I mean, I get to do such a wild array of things, and with a great person.
Not so bad to work with Melanie Griffith and have that kind of experience and professionalism on stage with you helps quite a bit as well.
It does.
You're originally from San Francisco, so not too far. You just came down the 405 a little bit, huh?
Yeah. Well, I live in LA now, but I grew up in the Bay Area, so.
Right. Well, welcome to Laguna Beach and Laguna Woods. We appreciate you coming on the Entertainment Corner and telling us about the show. They are going to have performances Tuesday through Saturday, and that's going to be at 7:30 p.m. Thursdays and Saturdays, they do have a 2 p.m., and Sundays they do have that 1 p.m. Matinee performance. Give them a call at 497-ARTS or go online at lagunaplayhouse.com to get any of that ticket information that you might need. Come out and say hello to Nick, right?
Please do.
Great. Thanks for joining us on the Entertainment Corner.
Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm Paul Ortiz, and we'll see you again next time on the Entertainment Corner.